So, what's left to do now is to take a look at the Credo and see if we can't get an overview of what we've seen so far about Socrates. In the Credo, we find Socrates actually awaiting his death sentence. There's some time that needs to be taken on this because, well, it's a festival time and they were sending a sacrifice to an island upon which there was a minotaur that died. So it was a tide to the gods, and the city-state of Athens didn't want blood on their hands. Well, this ship sending the sacrifice to the gods was away, so it took a good month for Socrates to be executed. Now, what we find is Socrates in prison. He's allowed guests, right? He's allowed visitors. And a bunch of his friends throughout that month have actually come to visit him and have become quite familiar with the guards. The friend in particular, Crito, has been there a number of times, and actually today he goes to visit Socrates with some bad news. The ship that sailed to give that sacrifice to the gods has returned, and it's now time for Socrates to die. But Crito has a plan. He's bribed some guards. He's got a buddy in another city-state who's willing to put Socrates up, and he's sure that he can get Socrates out of prison. Right? But Socrates being Socrates, Crito knows that he's going to have to provide an argument to convince Socrates to escape. So, his plan is to convince Socrates that staying in prison would be unjust. Right? First, pointing to Socrates' children. They're going to grow up without a father. Of course, Socrates is 70, and he doesn't have that much life left, right? Secondly, what about your friends? It's on top of the fact that your friends, Socrates, will be deprived of your friendship. A lot of people who don't know your friends too well are going to think that they could have saved Socrates if they'd been willing to spend the money, but hadn't, and that kind of a public opinion would not be too terribly favorable a reputation to have. It's no worse reputation than being thought to value money over friendship. Right? Even in today's society, to value money over friendship, not a very good reputation to have. So, Crito wants to convince Socrates to escape, but Socrates points out that the only valid consideration is the justice of the matter. Right? And he starts out by pointing out that we shouldn't fear public opinion. We don't even really heed public opinion all that much. If you wanted to know something about your health, right? If you wanted advice as to how to be a healthy person, would you, in today's society, would you believe everybody? Right? Would you believe what an online survey told you that people believe about their health, or would you go to an expert? Would you go to a doctor, a specialist? Well, what Socrates wants to point out is that it's the opinion of experts, the good opinions of experts, that we should trust over what everybody else thinks. Right? And in fact, what's put Socrates in this position in the first place is this public opinion, which, mind you, is dangerous. But Socrates wants to claim that there's something more important than your mortal safety, right? Than the health of your body, than your surviving. Something more important than your physical well-being is the well-being of your soul or your psyche, right? So you should care for yourself and your moral decisions more than you should even care for your own life, right? For example, if somebody is going to stand up to fight for something that they believe in, defend their family, defend their city-state, defend their country, what have you, is there something more important than the physical safety of that individual? It would seem so, right? Because in some cases it might be required for justice reasons that people sacrifice their lives. So, what Socrates wants to point out is the only valid consideration is the justice of the matter. His physical well-being, not so much important. Right? He wants to know, in truth, whether it is better for him to escape or to face his sentence. So, to examine the justice of this matter, we find that both Crito and Socrates have competing theories of justice. Right? Creto's theory of justice points out that justice consists in doing well by your friends and harming your enemies. Right? So Creto's theory of justice involves not allowing your enemies the satisfaction of harming you as well. But Socrates points out that there is a very competing theory of justice. It's not well accepted, but it's Socrates nonetheless. Unless they're able to agree as to what justice consists, right, then they can't even have the conversation. So Socrates' theory of justice is rather simple. You should always do the good. When somebody does evil to you, should you return evil for evil? No, you should always do the good. And connected to this theory of justice is this idea that we should keep our agreements. Once you've made an agreement, ought you keep it? Of course. Right? Of course you should keep that agreement. Right? Even if it turns out to be a bad agreement with you. To fail to live up to your side of an agreement is to do somebody an injustice. In fact, returning evil. Right? So, what we find here is Socrates in a position where he is positing a formal agreement between individual and state. There's this whole fictional conversation, right, which Socrates is on both sides of the conversation, with the laws of Athens. The laws of Athens point out to Socrates that all of his long life, he's lived in the city-state of Athens. He's eaten their food, right? He's enjoyed the protection of their laws. He's enjoyed property right ownerships. He's been married